Have you ever met someone who walks through life like the rules just do not apply to them? Not in an arrogant way, but in a way that is just a little delusional. They believe in themselves a little more than the situation seems to call for. They approach the person way out of their league. They talk about their goals like they are already halfway there, and somehow it works. Meanwhile, the rest of us are being realistic, careful, waiting until we are ready, and wondering why nobody seems to notice us. Here is my take that might sound a little controversial for one or the other. A little bit of delusion is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. The person who believes in themselves just slightly more than the evidence supports is the person who pulls others into their orbit. You might not quite believe me yet, so let's make a deal. I'm going to show you 5 ways to use this healthy delusion to become instantly more magnetic. And by the end of the video, you can tell me if I could convince you or if you still think I'm crazy. You can let me know in the comments. Let's dive right in. Assume the room likes you. Most people walk into a social situation with a quiet question running in the back of their mind. Do they like me? And that question, as subtle and invisible as it is, shapes everything. The way you hold yourself, the way you speak, whether you initiate or wait, whether you take up space or make yourself small. The question is so constant that most people do not even notice it is there, but everyone else can feel it. The delusional shift is simple. Walk in having already decided the answer is yes. But don't view it as a performance. View it as a genuine starting assumption. They like me. I belong here. This is going to be a good conversation. You decide that before you open the door, and then you act accordingly. What changes is everything. When you assume people like you, you stop seeking confirmation and start giving energy. You make eye contact because you expect it to be warm. You speak up because you expect to be heard. You laugh freely because you are not monitoring whether you are being judged. And the room, which was just waiting for someone to set the temperature, picks up that energy and reflects it back. So here's the practical version. Before you walk into any social situation, a party, a date, or a work event, walk in with one simple assumption. They are going to like me. No big pep talk or loads of self-affirmations. Just one little mindset shift. That's it. Some people may call this fake confidence, but here's the thing, you never actually know how a room is going to receive you before you walk in. So you have 2 choices, assume the worst and perform accordingly, or assume the best and let that become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Being more cautious might feel safer, but it's the delusion that creates the magic, because at the end of the day, being delusional is what actually makes you charismatic. But assuming the room likes you is only the beginning, because there is a more specific version of this that most guys never apply, and it is the one that changes everything in one-on-one interactions. Assume attraction. Most men don't realize this, but the way you approach an interaction with a woman you find attractive determines the outcome before you have said a single word. Most guys approach it with the wrong frame. They walk in as someone hoping to be liked, hoping she is interested, trying to figure out if they have a shot. And that frame, that quiet underlying uncertainty, is their downfall, the hesitation, the way they over-explain themselves, the way they watch her face after every sentence to see if it landed. The delusional shift is to flip the frame entirely, walk in assuming she is already interested, and behave accordingly. This does not mean being arrogant, and it does not mean ignoring her signals or pushing past real disinterest. It means starting from a place of calm confidence rather than anxious hope. It means talking to her the way you would talk to someone you already know likes you, relaxed, playful, and genuinely curious, not performing. Here is what actually changes when you do this. You stop auditioning, you stop trying to prove yourself, you stop scanning her face for validation after every sentence. And that absence of neediness is one of the most attractive things a man can project, because it signals that you are not desperate for her approval, which, paradoxically, makes her want to give it. The practical version is straightforward. Next time you talk to a woman you are attracted to, ask yourself one question before you open your mouth. How would I talk to her if I already knew she liked me? Then talk to her like that. Slower, easier, more yourself. Not trying, just present. Assuming attraction does not guarantee anything, but it gives you the best possible starting position, because the alternative, walking in with doubt written all over you, guarantees the outcome you were afraid of. But attraction is just one context. The same principle applies somewhere most guys never think to use it, and it might be the most important room you ever walk into. Believe your ideas are worth hearing. Here's something I learned way too late. Most people are not quiet because they have nothing to say. They are quiet because they are not sure their thoughts are good enough to say out loud. They have the idea, the opinion, the observation, and then, before it ever reaches their mouth, they run it through a filter. Is this interesting enough? Will they think it is stupid? Am I going to sound dumb? And by the time the thought has survived that internal jury, the moment has either passed or the version that comes out is so filtered that it carries no weight at all. The delusional shift is to skip the filter, to operate from the belief that what you are thinking is worth saying. In practice, this is very simple. It is about cutting 3 specific phrases out of how you speak. This is probably a stupid idea, but cut it. I don't know, maybe cut it. You probably already know this, but cut it. These are not politeness, they are preemptive apologies for your own thoughts, and they signal that you do not believe in what you are about to say. Just say the thing, state it clearly, let it land. You do not need to frame it as a humble offering. If you think something is interesting, say it like it is interesting. If you have an idea, pitch it like it has value. Here is what happens when you do this consistently. People start to actually listen when you speak. Not because you suddenly have better ideas, but because you deliver them like they are worth hearing. And the brain, which is lazy by design, takes that signal at face value. If he sounds like he means it, he probably does. You train people how to receive you, start training them to pay attention. But there is another version of this that most people resist even more, because it requires you to act before you feel ready. And that gap between feeling ready and acting anyway is where most people lose years. Act like you have already figured it out. Here is a pattern most guys fall into without realizing it. They wait until they are more confident before they start approaching. They wait until they are more successful before they put themselves out there. They wait until they feel ready before they start acting like the person they want to become. And the wait never ends. The delusional shift is to act like the more confident version of yourself right now before you have the evidence to back it up. This does not mean lying about who you are or pretending you have things you do not have. It means carrying yourself, speaking, and behaving like someone who has already figured out the basics. The clearest example I can give is this. 2 guys walk into a networking event. One is thinking, I am still figuring things out. I hope people do not ask too many questions. The other is thinking, I am figuring things out and I am good at it. Let me see who is interesting here. The first guy shrinks. The second guy engages. Neither of them has arrived yet, but one of them acts like the destination is already close, and that changes the entire interaction. People do not have access to your internal resume. They only have access to your behavior. So behave like someone who is on their way, not someone who is still waiting for permission to start. But there is one final piece that ties everything together, and it is the one that most people completely miss because it is not about how you show up with other people. It is about how you talk to yourself when nobody is around. Be your own biggest believer. Here is the real reason why some people are magnetic and others are not. And it has nothing to do with what they do in a social situation. It has to do with the voice in their head. Most people are their own harshest critic. They replay the awkward moment from 3 days ago. They replay the thing they said that did not land. They build a running internal case for why they are not good enough. And then they walk into a room and wonder why they feel slightly off, slightly smaller than they want to be. The delusional shift is to become your own biggest believer, not to ignore your flaws or pretend you are perfect, but to choose to be on your own side, just like you would for your best friend. If your best friend told you he screwed up a date, you wouldn't start criticizing them. You would say, come on bro, that was just one bad night. Move on, the next one will be better. If he told you his idea got rejected, you would not say, yeah, that's because you're dumb AF. You would say, they simply didn't get it. Your ideas are great. Keep going. Start talking to yourself the same way. When something goes wrong, and things will go wrong, do not run a post-match autopsy designed to prove you are the problem. Ask one question instead. What would I tell my best friend in this situation? Then tell yourself that. This is not toxic positivity. It is not ignoring reality. It is choosing to interpret your own story in the way that makes you most likely to keep going, keep improving, and keep showing up. And here is the thing about charisma. It is not built in the big moments. It is built in the quiet ones, in the way you talk to yourself after the conversation did not go the way you wanted, in whether you wake up the next morning ready to try again or slightly more convinced that it is not for you. The most magnetic people are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who fail and then, almost immediately, get back to believing in themselves. That resilience, that stubborn, almost irrational self-belief is what makes them magnetic. Assume the room likes you, assume attraction, believe your ideas are worth hearing, act like you have already figured it out, and be your own biggest believer. This is what healthy delusion actually looks like. Not lying to yourself, not ignoring reality, just choosing to start from a slightly better assumption and letting that assumption pull you forward. So, what do you say? Were I able to convince you, or do you still share another opinion? Let me know in the comments.